Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. And don't forget to listen to the end of the story, guys, to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. Andrew and I have been married for 6 years, and we have a strong, loving relationship. We've had our ups and downs like any couple, but we've always been there for each other. He's my best friend, my partner, and the person I trust most in the world. Andrew's sister, Kelly, has always been complicated. She's the kind of person who needs to be in control and thrives on being the center of attention. She constantly inserts herself into situations where she's not needed and acts like she's the authority on everything. Over the years, Kelly has made her share of snide comments about our marriage. She's always been quick to tell Andrew how lucky he is to have me, but always follows it up with backhanded remarks about how I don't go above and beyond for him the way a proper wife should. She also has a habit of comparing me to Andrew's ex-girlfriend, Laura, whom Kelly still gushes about like she's the perfect woman. Laura and Andrew dated for about 3 years before we met, and while their relationship ended amicably, it was clear that Laura and Kelly stayed close. I've always found it odd, but I figured it wasn't worth causing drama over. Until now. A few months ago, Andrew started experiencing severe health issues. After countless doctor visits and tests, he was diagnosed with a condition that requires major surgery. The procedure is complex, and his recovery will be long and difficult. The doctors have told us he'll need at least 2 months of rest and care at home. As soon as we got the news, I started making plans. I rearranged my work schedule so I could be home full-time, set up a recovery space for Andrew in our bedroom, and even consulted with his doctor to make sure I knew what to expect. But, of course, Kelly decided to swoop in with her unsolicited help. When Kelly found out about Andrew's surgery, she immediately started pushing for him to recover at her house. She said it makes more sense because she works from home and has more time to dedicate to his care. She also argued that her house is bigger and more comfortable than ours. I thanked her for the offer, but told her I'd already made arrangements for Andrew to recover at home with me. This wasn't enough for Kelly. She kept pushing, saying I wouldn't be able to manage everything on my own and that Andrew deserved the best care possible. At first, I thought she was just being overbearing. Annoying, sure, but not malicious. But then last week, while visiting Andrew in the hospital, I excused myself to grab a coffee. When I returned, I stopped just outside his room because I heard Kelly talking on the phone. She didn't hear me approach, and what I overheard left me absolutely stunned. Kelly was talking to none other than Laura, Andrew's ex-girlfriend. I couldn't catch everything, but what I did hear was enough to make my stomach drop. Kelly said, "I've been working on convincing Andrew to recover at my place. Once he's there, you can move in for a while. It'll be the perfect opportunity for you to reconnect with him. He's always had a soft spot for you, and if you're there taking care of him, he'll realize what he's been missing. It's just a matter of time." I stood there, frozen. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Kelly and Laura were actively plotting to use Andrew's vulnerable state to try to break up our marriage. When Kelly came out of the room, I confronted her. I told her I'd heard everything and demanded to know what the hell she was thinking. At first, Kelly tried to deny it, saying I must have misunderstood the conversation. But when I repeated her exact words, she got defensive. She accused me of being paranoid and overreacting. "I was just trying to help," she snapped. "You're so insecure. You know Andrew and Laura have history, and you're terrified he'll realize he made the wrong choice." I couldn't believe her audacity. I told her there was no way Andrew would be recovering at her house, and that I'd be handling his care myself. Kelly stormed off, muttering something about how I'm not capable of taking care of her brother because I never cared enough for him, even when he wasn't sick, because I always prioritized my work over my husband. Since that confrontation, Kelly has been relentless. She's called me multiple times, accusing me of being selfish and putting my pride above Andrew's well-being. She even went behind my back to call Andrew, telling him I was being unreasonable and refusing to let her help. Thankfully, Andrew is completely on my side. When I told him what I overheard, he was shocked and disgusted. He assured me that he has no interest in Laura and wants nothing to do with Kelly's scheme. But Kelly isn't letting it go. She's rallied some family members to her side and they're now pressuring me to let Andrew recover at her house. They argue that Kelly has more time and resources, and that I'm being petty by keeping him at home. This isn't about pride or control for me. This is about protecting my husband and our marriage. Kelly's plan to involve Laura in Andrew's recovery is manipulative and cruel. It's a blatant attempt to undermine our relationship, and I won't stand for it. I've tried to explain this to the family members siding with Kelly, but they keep brushing it off. Kelly didn't mean it like that, they say. She's just trying to help. But I know what I heard, and I know what Kelly's intentions are. Andrew's surgery is coming up, and I've made it clear to everyone that he will be recovering at home with me. Kelly hasn't backed down, though. She continues to insist that she's the better option for his care, and has even gone so far as to tell people I'm being controlling and selfish. Despite all this, I'm standing my ground. Andrew is my husband, and it's my responsibility and privilege to take care of him. Kelly is now demanding an apology, saying I've twisted her words and painted her in a bad light. Some family members think I'm making things up and blowing it out of proportion. I'm standing firm, but part of me wonders if I'm being too stubborn. Should I have handled this differently, or am I right to protect my husband and our marriage from Kelly's manipulations? Let me get this straight. Kelly and Laura were planning to use Andrew's recovery to manipulate him into rekindling a relationship with his ex? That's not just meddling, it's downright malicious. Kelly crossed every boundary imaginable, and the fact that she's doubling down instead of apologizing shows exactly what kind of person she is. OP is absolutely right to stand her ground. This isn't about pride or control. It's about protecting OP's husband and their marriage. OP is not the problem here, and anyone siding with Kelly needs to take a hard look at what they're actually defending. And now let's hear the community's opinion. Not the a-hole. Kelly's actions are absolutely disgusting. It's bad enough that she's trying to take control of Andrew's recovery, but plotting with his ex to sabotage your marriage? That's unforgivable. The audacity of her to play the victim and accuse you of twisting her words is just the cherry on top of this toxic mess. Not the a-hole. Kelly has some nerve calling you selfish when she was literally plotting to destroy your marriage. Let's not gloss over how incredibly manipulative and predatory her plan was. She wanted to isolate Andrew during one of the most vulnerable times in his life and bring in his ex to seduce him. That's not just meddling. That's aggressive behavior. And for the family members who are defending her, ask them how they'd feel if someone tried to pull this on their spouse. I guarantee they'd change their tune real quick. You're doing the right thing, OP. Not the a-hole. You're standing up for your husband and setting boundaries, which is exactly what you should be doing. Don't let anyone guilt trip you into thinking otherwise. Kelly's plan was cruel and underhanded, and she's just mad it didn't work. My parents' marriage was a mess. For as long as my sister, 29 female, and I, 27 male, can remember, they would argue about every single thing, every single day. It seemed that they were unable to decide anything as a couple without arguing. As I was growing up, more often than not, my father would end up sleeping in the guest bed in my room instead of sleeping in his own bedroom. One day when we were in our late teens, 17 and 19, my dad sat me and my sister down and told us he was going to ask my mom for a divorce. He asked us how we felt about it, and honestly, my sister and I were sure it would come to this sooner or later, so we assured him we wouldn't resent him for it. That night, my father asked for a divorce, and my mother begged him to stay with her. She tried everything: begging, threats, blackmail. She even tried convincing him that she was pregnant. The neighbors ended up calling the police because of my mom's loud cries. Mom and Dad were able to explain the situation, and the cops left. But my dad agreed in the end to try counseling in order to defuse my mother. They never did go to therapy, because once my father agreed to stay, my mom decided they didn't need it. About 4 months later, my mother found out my father was having an affair with a woman. Let's call her Anna. My father confessed, told Mom he had been seeing Anna for the last couple of months. He asked my mother for a divorce, and this time she agreed. My sister kind of distanced herself from the situation, but I love Anna. Ever since I first met her all those years ago, she's been trying her best to be respectful of me and to also bond with me. My girlfriend also adores her, and the feeling is mutual. Whereas my mom has never approved of our relationship because of her colorful hair, piercing, and tattoos. In the New Year's Eve, my father finally proposed to Anna. They asked me to be the best man. I accepted right away. My sister later asked me if I was sure I wanted to do that, because of how my mom would feel. I said I completely understand that my mom will always be resentful of my dad and Anna, but I love them and I want to be a part of their wedding. My sister sighed and dropped the subject. I thought it was the end of it, but I was wrong. Ever since then, my mother has been constantly texting and calling me, telling me to back out of the bridal party. She says she will never talk to me again if I do it. My mom says I'm horrible for making her relive the trauma of losing another loved one to Anna. I feel really bad about this, but I also don't want to give in. If I'm not allowed to be in my father's wedding, does it mean that my mom will also forbid me of having them in my wedding? I don't want to cut contact with my mom, and I hate that this is the hill I'm going to die on. So, am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Your mom's relationship with your dad is not your concern. It's been 10 years. You're being more mature than your mom, and she can make this choice to ruin your relationship with her if she wants. Not the a-hole. I don't even know if I'd call her a mistress. Your dad was in the process of getting divorced. He ended the relationship already. Legally, sure. But morally, in my opinion, a relationship ends when either party says so. The paperwork is just the paperwork. He could and should have handled it better, but he wasn't exactly sneaking around. He told you, your sister, and your mom he wanted a divorce. He wimped out because she was going mental to the point the cops got involved. But even that was a conditional situation, which your mom refused to comply with. I wouldn't call that cheating, and I absolutely hate cheaters. Respectfully, your dad doesn't sound like a saint, but he sounds like the better of the two parents, and he's not the one giving unreasonable ultimatums. I would tell your mom you will respect her decision. Have a great time at the wedding, and if she decides not to talk to you again, that's her decision. Not the a-hole. Your bio mother sounds very emotionally manipulative. We all want to please our parents, but you can't please both here, based on her manipulative behavior in the past, and how she goes back on her word after getting her way. I don't think this would stop if you did step down. I imagine she will want you to not attend at all, or if you do get married in the future, want you to not invite your father, etc. It sucks, but this is your mother's issue, and she needs to work to accept the situation. I think it's important to recognize her hurt and discuss it with her in a respectful way, if possible, and explain she is not losing you to Anna, and that she is still your mother, but that you are an adult and you've made a commitment to your father that you are going to honor. If she chooses to go no contact, it is her who severed the relationship, and not you, and it sounds like no contact might be a good outcome. I have 2 kids. Oldest is my ex-husband's, the youngest is not. When Older was little, we hit a rough patch, and I ended up pregnant by another man, who unfortunately is an addict, but is on the birth certificate. My ex knows the younger one is not his, but he's taken care of her since she was a baby. Her bio dad has never paid child support and has been in and out of her life sporadically. We divorced when Older was in middle school and Younger was in elementary. My ex agreed to pay child support for both until our oldest turns 18. The problem is, I've never worked, and I'll still need to take care of and provide for the younger one too. Younger one also likes having me at the house when they get home from school. I'm not sure how I'll do that with no income, and Younger's bio dad is a deadbeat, so no chance of money from him. I've been thinking about taking my ex to court to see what can be done about having child support continued until our younger one is also 18. My ex has agreed to fully support both of them through school, continue paying health and car insurance, phone bill, all co-pays, and my mortgage, but it's not enough. I feel he'd do more, but it's very likely his current wife is asking him to focus on the kids they have together, which is leaving me in a bind, and I'll be struggling once Older kid is 18. I don't know what else to do. Would I be the a-hole? My ex has said he'll take care of our youngest by paying for their needs and wants directly, but will no longer give me any money. I appreciate that, but it still leaves me without anything. Since I've had multiple people messaging me and asking, my ex pays $4,000 a month in child support currently. Rough patch? More like you cheated. You would be the a-hole. The younger one isn't his child. Go after the man you cheated with. Go to court, and they would not only throw out the case, but laugh in your face as well. Also, you are a grown adult. You need to get a job. You're the a-hole. He was very clear that he'd pay only till his child was 18 years old, which is the only thing he's legally and morally required to do. He's very generously paying for a child he has no legal or biological connection to have health care and education. If you take him to court, what's stopping him from going back on that because you are being greedy? You need to step up and start working to provide for yourself and your child. You have had plenty of warning and could have started part-time to build up savings and experience. You're the a-hole. Sounds like you cheated on your ex-husband. He forgave you and provided for his kid, your kid with the guy you cheated with, and for you. You two got divorced, and he's such a good guy to take care of all three of you, even doing way more by not only paying child support, but also all your bills too? And that still isn't enough? Please take him to court and let us know how much you need to refund him. Just get a job. There are a ton of single parents who can make it work. I'm sorry to tell you, but you're not so special that you need special treatment. You're probably already doing Plan B, looking for another guy who can support you financially. You said you've devoted your life to raising the kids, but didn't you devote your life to stay loyal to your husband when you married him? Look what happened there. I, 33 female, and my husband, 36 male, have been together for 3 years, recently married this past year. We have a 1-year-old child together. My husband has 2 kids from a previous marriage, Z, 16 female, and S, 18 male. My husband is a disabled veteran, and his child support is based on his government compensation, Social Security. Social Security determines the amount of child support his ex-wife receives per child. Her child support payments dropped in half when our son turned 18 and dropped out of high school. We had no issues with his ex-wife until we married, and now his ex-wife wants more money because my income is significantly more than my husband's. His ex-wife also wants compensation for their 18 male who lives at home with her. We told our son S, 18 male, that he could live with us as long as he promised to work on his GED. He refused. I currently pay for Z's cell phone and car insurance. So, am I the a-hole for not offering more money for child support? Just want to add, ex-wife worked at CVS as a pharmacy tech for years. When I married my husband, she quit her job and started part-time as a waitress. Ex-wife and the kids live with grandparents. We see the kids maybe 1 time a month due to both kids having jobs. Ex-wife does not want to go to court because she is still paying on lawyer fees from her second marriage and custody battle. She wants us to come to an agreement to give her more money. Not the a-hole. Take her to court. She gave up a better-paying job to be a waitress and is trying to leech off you and your husband and expects you to pay for a legal adult kid who has made the bad choice of not continuing or even finishing his education. Oof. Not the a-hole. She shouldn't have left her better-paying job to wait tables. Her financial situation is not your problem. Furthermore, she knows what she's asking is too ridiculous to take to court and is hoping you'll take pity on her, is what it looks like to me. I hope your husband is in agreement with you. Joint finances or not, it would be coming from money you earned, and the layabout son needs to do something to better his life as well. Not the a-hole. Child support is for children. I don't agree with the philosophy of kick them out on their 18th birthday, but I do agree that S needs to do something with his life. My brother Eddie and his 3 daughters, 13 and 16 and 18, moved in with me, my wife, and daughter Jennifer, 14, a month ago. The problem is that my nieces tend to frequently enter Jennifer's room at random times and grab whatever they want without even asking if it's fine to do that. I tried addressing this issue with my brother since Jennifer has been feeling irritated by having her stuff borrowed, then never getting it back. My brother downplayed the whole thing and urged me to be a little more sympathetic towards the girls and what they're going through losing their home. I told him fine, what's done is done, but gave him a warning letting him know that if any of his daughters go into Jennifer's room and take anything, be it big or small, then they're out of the house, no discussion. He said nothing, just stared and kept smoking. Fast forward 2 days ago, right before New Year's Eve. I got a call from Jennifer crying, saying she couldn't find her eyelashes to wear to a friend's family New Year's Eve, and said that her older cousin took them. I was fuming at this point. I went home and confronted my brother. He told me to take it easy, because his older daughter needed those eyelashes for a party since she's technically an adult and thought it was no big deal. I reminded him of my warning, then told him to start packing. He stood there asking if I was serious, to which I responded with, "Never been more serious in my entire life." He started arguing, calling me unreasonable for kicking him and his kids out over some fake eyelashes. He said this will make me look bad to the family once they hear it, but I told him I already issued a warning. He ranted about how girls are and how it's hard to discipline them, especially when it comes to makeup, and thought that I was overreacting to this minor thing. I refused to discuss it and told him to leave. He and his kids are at a hotel now. They told my parents, and they're giving me crap about kicking my brother and nieces out on the street and ruining their new year over fake eyelashes. Mom offered to pay for new eyelashes, but I'll have to take them back. But I refused. My wife is worried this will ruin the familial relationship. So, am I the a-hole, or did I go too far here? Not the a-hole. You were very clear with your warning. Some false eyelashes can be expensive, and if they are reusable ones, that's nasty to use someone else's. Your niece should have paid for her own if she wanted them so badly, but could have asked to use them or ask if your daughter had any others. She chose to steal. Your brother and his family are entitled and bit the hand that fed them. Let's be clear. This isn't about the eyelashes. This is about your nieces not respecting your daughter's space and property. You made it clear to your brother what the consequences were. You made this choice to teach your daughter about boundaries and respect. It's a shame that your brother failed to relay the message or the consequences, but that was his choice. You know how girls are unmanageable, isn't very sympathetic. Girls generally understand that actions have consequences as well as anyone else, unless they've been led to believe otherwise, say by an overly permissive parent. The idea that the oldest child is technically an adult and therefore entitled to your daughter's things is confusing, though it gives you an out if you want to impose a half measure to show your daughter that you respect her space, but not totally evict your brother. You can evict just his oldest daughter, the adult who broke the rules. Perhaps for a known duration, a month or so. You're not obligated to do this, but it allows you to walk it back a bit if you wish, for your own reasons. Either way, not the a-hole. Failing to enforce some kind of consequence would teach your daughter that she didn't matter. That would probably poison her relationship with her cousin, her uncle, you, and maybe herself. Honestly, everyone sucks here. The actions of your brother are not okay, and you have every right to kick him out any time. But I think that there are other ways to resolve an issue than setting someone out in the streets. So I, 29 female, got married early January. Now, what I'm about to say may make me sound like a traditional self-centered trash, but I only wanted +1s for engaged and married people for the family picture. I didn't want pics with people who might no longer be together as family with us. My planning for my wedding started endish of 2019, got called off 2020, and then planning took place, so my wedding was obviously a time-invested and money-invested wedding, so I wanted strict rules. My sister, 26 female, was upset and said that either she brings her boyfriend, ex now, 27 male, to the wedding or she won't come at all. I didn't want my sister to bring her boyfriend especially. Let's call him Ethan. God forbid, I hated Ethan. He's the type of guy to be like, I'm an actual POS to every other girl. I only have a soft spot for my girlfriend. Which meant, in other words, he was super crappy to me. He's also a guy who you feel scared to be in a room with. He's not scary looking, but I never felt comfortable around him. After I told my sister I didn't want Ethan there, she made social media posts, called me more names than I could recognize, threatened me to literally do vile stuff. However, I realized I was a POS sister for the traditional no boyfriend allowed rule, so I canceled every invite and rewrote. Everyone accepted the rules and the wedding came. Great. The picture was beautiful. I sat next to my husband on a big picture couch throne. I don't know if you guys know those throne thingies brides and grooms sit on. To my right was my mom, then my sister, Ethan, and a few of my aunts and uncles. On my husband's left was my dad and a few of husband's uncles and aunts. My husband's parents are no longer with us. Anywho, most guys who hate all women other than their girlfriend eventually find someone new to have a soft spot for and give up what they already have. Ethan and my sister dropped lower and lower, and he went from loving her to being verbally aggressive to physically. They broke up a few months ago, and she stays with me. Well, I had commissioned a painter for a few $1,000s for a massive wedding portrait of the family pic, and of course, Ethan was in it. My sister saw it and broke down in tears, saying, "Please return this picture. I don't want to see Ethan anymore." It was a realistic portrait. I told her I'm sorry and I couldn't do that because it's a massive portrait and I have nowhere to store it other than a free wall on my living room. She slurred on her words and screamed and cried, and I tried to comfort her, but I got angry and said, "I told you I got wrong feelings about him, and you chewed a fruit. Now you need to swallow it." She cried and stayed in her room we dictated for her. My husband came back from work and asked what happened. I told him everything. He said I could have been a bit nicer, but I didn't do anything wrong. My mom, however, is upset because I'm being aggressive to my sister, just like Ethan did. Am I the a-hole? I just don't know what to do. Definitely not the a-hole. You asked her and warned her. She didn't listen, and now she needs to accept the consequences.